Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day one of the British Esports Championship Finals. We've got a fantastic weekend of action lined up for you guys with Overwatch today, League of Legends tomorrow, and Rocket League on Sunday. Today's match is going to be Sunderland College versus Farnborough 6th, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the outcome of this match. Sunderland obviously being last year's tournament winners, and Farnborough have been a fantastic competitor so far, and I'm looking to take that away from them. Sunderland trying to hold on to their lead. I just want to say a big shout out to the Newell, who have both agreed to host and produce this stream for us this weekend. So thank you so much, guys, for doing that. It's really, really helpful. And also to our casters today, which is Big Hungry Phil and Yokai. Thank you guys for being here and being part of this. And another quick mention, I just want to shout out to our admin Rinkt, our observer Harrison, and our video editor Spyro. And thank you guys for doing the hard work behind the scenes to make this stream great and really good production from you guys. Thank you so much. Best of luck to both teams. I wish you the very best. Go out there, give it everything you've got. But most of all, just remember, have fun and enjoy yourselves. So yeah, good luck. Without further ado, I'll hand over to our Overwatch host, Servitude.
Hello and welcome to the 2020 British Esports Association Overwatch Grand Finals. We have a fantastic match today between Sunderland Seers and Farnborough Falcons. But before we get onto the match, if you didn't know about what we do about the British Esports Association, they are a non-profit organisation that help promote and assist the grassroots of the esports industry. So whether you're a student or a teacher or a parent not wanting your kids to play games all day, well, we have news for you. Maybe it might be a good idea to let them start because it's a booming industry with lots of money to be made, but also it's a bit of fun as well. Um, the British Esports Association helps students and parents and teachers, like I said, and they help them understand the breadth of careers within the whole industry. So it's not just about professional players. Obviously, that's what lots of people aspire to be, but there's a whole host of different types of roles within the industry, such as presenting and producing, casting, all the events that you see online. There's hundreds of people behind the scenes, from audio to video to coaching as well. So if you're not sure exactly about all the different types of jobs you can do, and make sure to go and find out at the British Esports Association website, which there'll be links to, and lots of videos for you to watch, lots of articles to read as well. The championships, such as this one, currently run across 3 games, including Overwatch, obviously, League of Legends, and Rocket League. But there will be more joining the tournament scene as the association grows over the next few years. FIFA has been mentioned, so keep your eyes and ears out for that one if you're an avid FIFA player. And like I said, more and more will hopefully be added to get more of you players enjoying the games that, we all love playing. We're going to talk a little bit about the students and the colleges and how you guys can get involved. We'd like to thank, firstly, though, Newell, who is producing and running the in-game footage that you're going to be seeing, doing the observing so you can see what the players are up to in-game. But if we can watch a video quickly from the chair of the British Esports, Andy Payne, to talk about this weekend and the aims of the Championships finals.
Hi, I'm Andy Payne. I'm the chair of the British Esports Association. I want to welcome you to the British Esports Championships 2020. We're here, we see the very best of schools and colleges in the UK that have competed all season for a place in these finals. The championships are always open to all schools and all colleges for 12-year-olds and above. Esports are incredibly important to helping with our social skills, behaviour, cognition, leadership and communication. I want to thank our partners, Twitch, Student Programme and AOC Sport. We've got 3 finals this weekend. Friday the 24th of April sees the Overwatch final, where we have Sunderland College competing against Farnborough Sixth Form. On Saturday the 25th of April, we've got the League of Legends final, which sees Bridgewater and Taunton College take on Hills Road Sixth Form College. And on the Sunday the 26th of April, we've got the Rocket League final, which sees Glasgow Clyde College take on Sunderland College. I want to wish all the competitors, all the finalists, the very, very best of luck. Thank you.
So hopefully that explains a little bit more about what we do and a little bit about how you can get involved and what this weekend is about. But we're going to introduce you to some brilliant voices who are going to be talking us through the games, the poggers, and basically giving you the in-match run-throughs as well. So if we can welcome Big Hungry Phil and Bailey as well. Hello, guys.
Hi, Terry. Thanks for having us here today.
That's all right. Thank you very much for joining us, especially you, Bailey, on such short notice.
No, it's quite all right. Happy to be here.
Well, you guys, or at least Big Hungry Phil, you've been here already before. You were hosting, casting, the last finals last year. Is that right?
That's right. Lucky enough to be able to do those live at Insomnia last year. I think it was 64. My Insomnia math isn't great, but I think it was I-64, which was actually a previous version of this. It was Peregrines versus Seers.
So it's kind of a rematch of a rematch of a rematch, maybe, considering this. They did play in the spring finals as well. If you did watch, any of you guys did watch that. So
right.
how did that match go?
Well, they also played each other earlier this season, I believe. And honestly, Seers are looking to be a very, very strong team and have been looking to be a very, very strong team. It was a thing I was going to bring up and talk about, was that Bailey's very kindly stepped in here. It was going to be Yokai, who's casting this with me, who's actually from the same environment as the Seers and had a little bit of an insight. But all the way back from a year ago and even prior to that, I think Yokai would have reinforced that there is a very strong coaching ethos for the Seers, and they're using that to very good advantage here. So Peregrines are going to have a tough time in this one, I think.
Well, we will talk about predictions in a little bit. With the Seers and the Peregrines, we'll talk a little bit about, I think, first, their last game. So they played last month, at the end of last month, at the end of the spring finals. And I don't know if you guys watched any of that, but it was a somewhat dominant match. The Seers did win 3-0. And if you didn't know, they also won the winter finals. I'm not sure if you guys, what you're expecting from this match, whether you think there'll be anything different, or what you think the Peregrines might need to do to kind of bring up their game a little bit.
Well, if I jump into this one, Bailey, by all means, jump in when you've got a comment to add.
Yep.
We haven't really had a chance to look too deeply at the VOD footage from that and the state of the game from when they played previously, but it's worth noting there have been some shakeups to the meta since then, so things are maybe a little bit different now than they were the last time Seers faced Peregrines. Obviously, we're not going to have the most cutting edge of the changes having gone through just yet, so all those recent nerfs to CC won't be going through. So I think it's going to be down here to whether or not Peregrines have done their homework, having been up against Seers a few times previously. They have to know who the strong players are on the Seers and what the counters are to those comfort picks or those top level picks from the Seers. If they've not done the homework, if they've not put in the time, then it's looking to be a repeat of the previous matchup.
Yeah, of course, I completely agree with you there, Phil. Like, if they analyze the VOD that they played with them last time, then for sure they need to realize what compositions the Seers are running and maybe what can they do to counter that. Because if they try and mirror them, then it might just come down to which team is just better at playing that composition. And if we've seen in the past matches, that just seems to be Seers at the minute. But of course, Peregrines have had time to practice, so hopefully they've come up with a few compositions themselves that either counter or are very similar to ones that Seers are running, playing to some of the Peregrines player strengths instead. And hopefully with the time they've had to prepare for this, they might be able to play to some of their own strengths they didn't realize they had before.
And just to bounce back off that, there are of course two ways you can play Overwatch, and it's a thing that we're seeing at some of the higher level players at the minute. You can either run what is the most meta composition, the thing that you are used to playing and used to playing against, and you can absolutely dominate like that. But you can also do what we might think of as the Clockwork Vendetta or the avoided approach of you just have these compositions that the individual players are so good. They are edge of the curve strength players that can just make this composition work. If Peregrines have had time to come up with a composition like that, then I see no reason at all why they can't come up trumps over the Seers today.
Yeah, of course. If you've got one player that's extremely good and playing one character, for example, Roadhog, then let him play Roadhog. Because sometimes these what we call one tricks can sometimes just carry the team to victory. Like example, as you said, Clockwork Vendetta, that was just a team full of one tricks, and maybe Peregrines could take a little chapter from their book. They might be able to succeed.
I mean, even if you look at the Overwatch League now, if you said that Torb was going to be meta a couple of months ago, people would probably be laughing at you. Whereas now he's played in quite a lot at the moment. In terms of some of the characters, some of the heroes that he can play, I know that we saw a lot of Korean Mei last time, high control, and you did talk about maybe mixing up what they play. I'm not sure whether we'll see any dive. I'd like to see some dive. It's kind of had a bit of reinvigoration. I'd like to see a bit of Nano Genji, maybe. Dreams can be made, maybe. But anyway, before we get onto predictions, we've been talking a little bit about the Seers and the Peregrines. But you guys, for some of you watching, this might be the first time that you're watching them play. So how about you guys have a look at this video and you can see who they are.
Liam has the Riptide. The Riptide coming in! Finds Sensei Shark and Bright, sending them right out of the fight. Taking home the trophy. British Esports Schools champions in a 2-0 win.
Okay, so that's a little bit more about what the teams are. But you might be thinking to yourself, well, I want a bit of that. I want to get in on that. I want to be able to show to the wider audience, to other players, to my classmates, how good of a tracer I really am. And we haven't really shown about how you can get involved. Like I said, it's about you sorting out a team in one of the 3 games that we play at the moment, which is Rocket League, Overwatch, and League of Legends. And you can set up a team of students from your school or college. And with that, you play some games at the school against other schools and colleges around the UK. And then it culminates in a finals of each season. So one in December, or one at the Christmas in the winter season, and this one here, which is the spring season, and then the finals, which are the grand finals against the winner of each. Now, it's a slightly different matchup for the Overwatch this time because the Seers actually won both, whereas the Peregrines, although came runners-up last time, still got seeded second and still play today. But if you want to know how you can get involved and convince some teachers and some parents to maybe sign up and spend some of their time, because it does take a little bit of time for them to set up in school or college, then hopefully this video will help show and answer a few of your questions that you might have.
Hi all, Roger Quilliam here, aka Gallahorn. I am a top 500 main tank player and the team captain for the Farnborough Peregrines Overwatch team. The experience so far has been very challenging, very exciting, and I'm sure that my team and I have learned vital teamwork skills such as coordinating in-game strategies. The grand finals are upcoming, and I would like to say to the Seers, who did beat us down 0-3 in the Season 2 finals, that we are working very hard this week to improve our skills and hopefully get that win this time into the grand finals, so watch out for that.
This is Mitchell from Seers. It's a quick overview on how our season went. Fairly convincing season. Every game was a 3-0. Going into Farnborough, I think they're a very good team. Had some very good players on. Fairly confident that we're going to beat them. Obviously we beat them in the final last season. Should be a fairly good game. Should be entertaining to watch. Always going to be a good game.
So it's not just about taking home the title, you do get a few prizes as well, and depending on what game you play will vary the prizes. But for this weekend, the Peregrines and the Seers will be competing for a trophy. I've got a trophy over there. It's not one like they're going to get, believe me. It's certificates which they can laminate, put in a photo frame, and post above their bedroom, bed, whatever, maybe on their front door to show to the world that they are champions. But also, which some of you might find a bit more interesting, they're going to be getting coached by the British Hurricane coach. So that is going to be something awesome, something that I would love to be able to get. I will just hopefully grind away and try and eventually maybe get to the same levels that some of these players are. But before we get into a match, predictions. Now, we've already mentioned that the Seers have won, I think, 2 or 3 times against Peregrines now. The last game was a little bit dominant, where the Seers went 3-0. However, in their second match, in the second map, sorry, they did win 5-4. And although the Seers are showing dominance in most of the team fights, the Peregrines have shown some potential and did win a few quite dominantly themselves. In terms of who to look out for, I've got a couple, but I didn't know if you guys had anything to kind of think about what you think is going to come out, what do you think the score is going to be, and hopefully where we're going to be at about half time.
I think if you're a gambling person, then the sensible, safe money is still going to be on Seers. They've got the track record. Yeah, they may have dropped a map to Peregrines last time, but you've got to assume that they are improving at the same kind of rate as Peregrines. Peregrines have got to pedal that much faster to get to the same position as Seers. So my money's got to be for Seers, honestly.
Yeah, I think I'm going to play a bit of a wildcard here. I think, obviously everyone's got a lot more spare time now due to the nature of the world. And I think maybe Peregrines have maybe grinded a bit hard. They've come so close the last few times that I think maybe that's just a little bit of motivation that they might have needed. And now they've got all that extra time to practice. I think they might be able to just clutch it.
So I watched the last game and was casting in the last game. And there were. I'm going to focus on the DPS for now. I know that as a tank and support player myself, we kind of get overlooked a little bit. But the DPS matchup last time was a little bit not one-sided, actually. I thought It's Bren versus Sensei Shark were both playing McCree's, and somehow It's Bren was always getting 1 or 2 Deadeye kills every time he used it. Whereas Sensei Shark he just wasn't matching up quite as well. However, they were both playing May as well, so they were playing a bit of a mirror comp. And Alex and Cardinal, I felt that Cardinal actually for the Peregrines was a little bit better. He wasn't quite as aggressive, which Seers were as a team, but that aggressiveness from Alex, who is on the Seers team, there was a couple of times when he was just pushing past Ryan Shield a little bit too much, getting picked off a little bit too early, and maybe the Blizzard use wasn't quite as good. So as much as I would love the Peregrines to win, I think Seers are going to win, but I would like Peregrines to get at least one map.
Yeah, hopefully it should be fairly close. And one of the players I did want to touch on very briefly, because I have a small amount of knowledge on these players, and to take that back a step further, is 2 ways you can play this. You can try and identify who the weakest link is, take out the weakest link and play the 5v6, or take out one of the central pillars, find the strongest player and take them out and just make it a much more level playing field. So I want to see Peregrines actually trying to take out the main tank here. So Yellowhorn is, as far as I'm aware, shot caller for Seers. So he's going to be the one planning fights, deciding when and where the engagements happen. If you remove that piece from the board, suddenly Seers are going to have a much harder time doing that. So if Peregrines can manage to focus down Gjallarhorn on a fight-by-fight basis, suddenly I think things start to swing a lot more in the favour of Peregrines.
Nice. Anything else to add, Bailey?
Yeah, just building on what from Phil said, you got to take out either the main person or the weakest person. I think maybe the best thing that Peregrines could do is maybe take out the strongest person, because if the Seers are all depending on one player and that player gets taken out, then they're all just going to shout to back off, because that's their strongest win condition gone. Unless they have win conditions like Nano Blade then I honestly think that if Peregrines just try and focus their Seers' strongest players, then Seers might start to crumble a bit under the pressure because they might not know what to do without the strongest player on the field.
Well, we'll see exactly what the teams are going to be playing in just a couple of moments. I would love to see some Nano Blades, but I'm going to expect to see some more May Kree being played and a standard Rhine Zarya. But I'd like something a little bit more exciting. We'll see what happens in just a minute.
Seeing monsters at your window. No, you can't sleep, you pretend though. You don't have to play the hero. Cause I got you like you got me. When the earth shakes, when the bombs scream. Until our last breath, every heartbeat.
So first map, Lijiang Tower, Seers versus Peregrines. Over to you, Bailey and Phil.
Thanks very much, Terry. So probably worth noting a little bit about the format for today. It's going to be best of 5. No hero bans in play, but Echo currently disabled to reflect how the rest of the series have gone. So Bailey, given what we've heard from Terry, who's clearly done a lot more homework on this than we have, are we expecting just to see that McCree May DPS line coming out, possibly the Reinhardt Diva, or are we going to see some wrinkles here?
I think there's a little bit of a chance for Ryan Zarya, like especially if your enemy team's playing May, you potentially want to bring out that Diva to, try and get that eat on that Blizzard. Because eating that Blizzard ultimate is just that one of those win conditions lost for the enemy team, and then you can just try and push in on that and hopefully try and punish them if you eat that ultimate unexpectedly. For the DPS, it's a little bit of a weird one at the minute. Of course, everyone's playing Echo now. She's on live, but these guys have been having to practice without having Echo to their availability. I'm for sure we'll be able to see McCree, but there's no real reason we couldn't see them switch on something like a Tracer or a Genji at all, to be fair, or even a Junkrat. Actually, we've seen a few Junkrats being played in the high levels. Junkrat's a really good player. Especially if the enemy team's just trying to just keep round on corners. You can just throw your grenades in there and hopefully create a bit of pressure on top of them, allowing your team to just move up the field a little bit more.
Yeah, there's a bit of a stigma around Junkrat of no brain, no aim. I'm a Junkrat.
Yeah.
So, if you can master the bank shot, you can get a lot done without ever really putting yourself at risk from being taken out by the enemy. And Sensei Shark, I know we try and avoid talking about what's happening in Spawn until people are out, but Sensei Shark currently hovering over the Farah here is not a pick that I hate, particularly for the Lijiang map set. It can be very powerful.
Yeah, of course. Lijiang has a lot of high altitude points for Farah, just to contest, and there's a lot of windows here on this point that she can just shoot through, a lot of ledges she can just stand on, especially with Nvidia here on the Mercy, bringing out that classic Pharmacy combo we all love and some of us hate. Personally, a bit of a fan. It's become a lot more popular recently, and of course, maybe the Seers are going to struggle a bit here, not having a hit scan to take out that Farah.
No, but the one thing they have got in their advantage is they've managed to take up initial possession of the point of the Peregrines, so they might not need that threat if they can provide enough pressure inside the point. We're going to see that first pick going over, taking Scribble out of the fight. And we're now back on board with Sensei Shark, who is just spamming this entryway. Knows they're in the 5v6. Doesn't actually want to take the fight, but will instead take the sleep dart to the face. Beautiful presence of mind there by Coach Feb. Threw in the defense matrix to keep them alive through that. Sorry, not from Coach Feb. Anyway, moving on. We've still got early point flip here for the Peregrines. The Sensei Shark putting down a lot of pressure. Will take Alex out of the fight. And now 4v6 for the Peregrines. They are going to find themselves forced back out, but that is a massive charge from Quantex. Sensei Shark playing too low to the ground really will get picked out by the Reinhardt, but the point has already flipped. Yellowhorn looking for the boot there onto the Reinhardt into the pit. Can't quite manage it, and that's a quick double actually from Quantex, taking 2 out. Yellowhorn still alive, will throw in the minefield, but a little bit too late into the fight as the point is looking to flip back over.
Yeah, I think Sensei Shark dying just a little bit uncautiously, especially if you need to stay on that high ground, and I think he just forgot he had a jetpack on his back. So, of course, he was taken out pretty unexpectedly there, and I think that just proved that the Seers just need to back off a little bit.
We have the sound barrier to start things off here, but Quantex currently asleep on the ground. Coach Feb throwing in the self-destruct will get 1, and that's a quick double coming alive for the main and the Lucio for the Peregrines. There's the barrage from Sensei Shark, already took Alex out of the equation. Doesn't have anybody there to help keep him through it, doesn't need it anyway. The target focus was not quite there. Will get focused down by Jake. This is incredibly tradey, this fight, and it's still going to be the Peregrines holding on for now.
Yeah, Seers have got an especially diving comp here, so they can get back to the point pretty quick.
Scribble just got squished and Kenji there. Quantex coming in for a little bit of a salutation there to the fallen Scribble as we're rounding 70% and getting pretty close to last fight territory.
Yeah, the Peregrines have to make a push now. They've only got at least 2 more fights and a chance to take back the point. I think the Seers, just playing this diving composition, as soon as they respawn, they can get back to the point so quickly, and it doesn't really cost them too much time.
There's going to be the second minefield out there from Yellowhorn. Doesn't look to have done too much to round things off. Alex able to get the Blizzard off. No Diva close enough to eat that. Locks off the entirety of the point. Blocks off the line of escape for Yellowhorn. The rest of the team is able to get in and focus down Alex. It's Bren's going to go down too. And this is looking to be a nice, confident flip from the Seers.
Yeah, absolutely amazing plays. But they know that using that Blizzard to lock off the whole point really just allowed the Peregrines out. It bought them a little bit of time, just blocking off the whole point, giving them a little bit of space. But in the end, that Blizzard doesn't last forever. And Sensei Shark was able to use that vertical territory, just to provide a bit more pressure from above. Maybe the Seers couldn't get to.
But in this next fight, Peregrines are going to have the Dragon Blade. It's taken its Brent a little while to get this go. And it's going to be the dry Dragon Blade. No Nano Boost to go with it. Will get 1, gets the second, takes the Mercy out of the equation. But with the dash reset, bringing them into the line of fire from the barrage, will take all the DPS off the table for the Peregrines. But they may just have done enough here to flip it back over. And at 99-51, and with none of the Seers left to keep the contest going, a beautiful sleep lines things off. We are going to see the Peregrines take that first point.
Yeah, Coach Feb there was absolutely dominating Sensei Shark. That Diva is a really, if not the best counter to Farah, with that defense matrix and her jet boosters, especially with the recent buffs they got, where they're on a lower cooldown than usual. Coach Feb was just keeping Sensei Shark on constant watch. He wasn't quite eating all the ultimates that we saw, but, he was just providing that extra pressure onto Sensei so that he couldn't quite go around the outside of Seers and catch him off guard.
I think there's a very good performance there from the Peregrines, particularly when you look at the fact that it took its Bren quite a few fights to charge up that Dragon Blade. And when he did have the Dragon Blade, it became very powerful, got a quick double on it. But having such a slow charging ult in a fight against a team like the Seers can be a real detriment.
Yeah, especially Dragon Blade should be one of the easiest ultimates to build up, but when it charges slowly like that, you got to start thinking if Genji's the right pick.
Sensei Shot coming back out on the Farah, and probably the best map in this set running the Farah. The skybox here very, very high. Already a quarter of the way to having that barrage online. Trying to chase down the supports, wants to get up close into the point. And you can see how good a job Yellowhorn is doing here of controlling space and just booping people into the line of fire of the DPS. Valor, I think, got a little bit overconfident with the fade and got taken out of it. Cardinal with the kill onto Quantex. And that's going to be another early cap here for the Seers, and they come out with that with a wealth of ult charge.
Yeah, Cardinal's already got his post bomb online here, and Sensei Shark already 81% there. Cardinal's doing a lot of pressure onto the Seers there, on that Tracer, which is blinking all over the place, and I don't think the Seers could quite pin him down.
And it says a lot, the matchup here, looking at Alex only halfway towards getting his own pulse bomb online, says a lot about how much work Cardinal is doing. And of course, with the rate Cardinal's charging this, he can just throw this pulse bomb in pretty much wherever he feels like, catches Valor in the middle of the Coalescence, taking that ultimate completely off the table. Sensei Shark may have had a little bit of a misclick there, and Nvidia's not there to bring them back in, having used that on Kronos. But, a 2-for-1 trade on the Barrage. Who's sad about that one?
Absolutely, probably not Sensei Shark. I think that was a tactical reset there. I don't think it was a misclick. But it's Brendan still not got his blade out yet. He's only 77% of the way there, and you would have thought in these two fights he would have at least got it, by now. And of course, Quantex going on the Reinhardt here. Now he's got to charge the ultimate again in Coach Fair, but on that Roadhog, or maybe he's trying to use the Roadhog, catch out some of the dive picks that the Peregrines have got.
Yeah, realizing what a threat Cardinal is. A couple of threats now on the board to take them out of it. Yellowborn got the nano boost there, I think, and has the minefield ready to go. Cardinal rounds things out there by taking Yark out of the fight, and we're going to see Scribble just engage in a little bit of Elder abuse to round out this fight. 75% and climbing. No ults on the table just yet, aside from that blade for Peregrines. It's going to be a tough one to crack, Bailey.
Yeah, of course. I think Seers doing what was called a dry push, where they don't commit any ultimates to the fight, but instead they just use the fight to gain their ultimate charge a bit further. Of course, now Bren's got his blade online, but Balor has not quite got his nano there, although he's 73% of the way there. Jark's 91% way to his beat, which will be able to use either to engage or use it as a defensive ultimate.
That's unfortunate. Quantex did get sleep, got anti-naded as well. They've already lost 2 in that fight, but Alex was able to take Bren Shark down. Sound Barrier comes out at the last second to help Bren survive through the last bit of that Dragon Blade. Will get the double, finds the dash reset to get Scribble. And in the final seconds of the fight, Peregrines have brought this back. They've just got to dislodge that pesky Wrecking Ball. No chance to set up Spin Cycle. And we see the point flip.
Yeah, of course, use the wing condition of Nano Blade there. But now they've got to build it up all over again. And it looks like Alex has almost got his Deadeye here, which he could use to zone off. But it's not quite as powerful on its own, especially on this map. There isn't a lot of open ground for him to use it on. He could just use it to zone off either side of the point here. So you're going to have to be very careful not to get picked off as well.
I think using the Deadeye just to buy time, or maybe even to get the one pick, take the fire out of the equation, would be great here. You see Scribble stunned on the way in there, but is doing a great job of focusing down Alex. Alex nearly taken out of it, and the dive is still there. Scribble with an absolute laser beam focus drives him into the path of Sensei Shark, who gets the double. This is almost definitely going to be an immediate flip back over, particularly with the minefield locking up so much at that point. It's going to make it very difficult for Quantex to set up the spin cycle they need to really start to stall out that point.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is it for the Peregrines, I think. They've got this point almost on lockdown, just getting rid of the last 3 players.
There's the High Noon. Cardinal just threatening the back, but Alex is able to find 2 with it. Cardinal has to use the rewind. Res will come through, but Nvidia's going to go down to It's Bren, who nearly has another blade online. Peregrines are not laying down and letting this happen. Coach Feb takes Sensei Shark down, and it's going to be Yellowhorn left to try and keep this going. Valor and Quantex push this back. We see the nano boost used when it maybe wasn't needed, but Peregrines have clawed their way back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, maybe they got a little... I think maybe Peregrines got a little bit out of in their own heads there, where they pushed Alex holding that Deadeye. You're not invincible even with Primal Rage. And I think Scribble found that out the hard way, unfortunately. And, losing 2 players to there like that's a 1/3 of your team gone. That's a big disadvantage for you on the point. But, we saw Sensei Shark there coming in through with the fire, especially on this point. It's so close, but yet it provides so much vertical range.
Oh, no, they lose Yellowhorn right early on in the fight to Alex. Always a danger trying to dive and McCree when he's got his flashbang up. And they lose Nvidia. We've got to see them make the reset here, because they've not got much time to crack this point. And if they lose this one, they lose Li Jiang. Yeah,
of course. They've got to make this reset pretty quick here. Lose it. At least they lost them at the beginning to the near of the fight, but now they won't really have much time to get another reset in here. This is now or never.
It's going to be down to Sensei Shark getting a really powerful barrage in here. Sound Barrier is now down, and It's Bren's able to take a support out. Will find Scribble on the main tank as well. You know, we criticised It's Bren at the start of this fight for being so slow, but he just absolutely came alive in these final few team fights.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with mechanical aim on his Genji here. You know, just at the end there, you know, he wasn't afraid to go towards Sensei Shark on that Pharah, and that nano, that blade, he doesn't need the nano to make an impact.
That was really quite an impressive comeback, and you know, we spoke about Seers being the dominant force here. They looked a little bit sloppy, and the fact that Peregrines were able to bring that back a couple of times on the back of a Seers flip says a lot about what we can expect to see from Peregrine in the remainder of this series.
Yeah, of course, I think this will be another close matchup against the Seers again. Or maybe, of course, maybe they will hopefully learn from what happened on Li Zhang here and move on to the next map with a few. Now they know that Bren's on the Genji. You know, maybe they might switch to maybe go for a McCree of their own. You know, they didn't really have any stun to stop the Genji coming in there.
Okay, so
yeah, it's a. Oh, sorry,
No,
Terry. I managed to talk over you.
Go on, go for it.
I was just going to say, maybe myself and Bailey need to be a little bit more circumspect with our predictions, because if this is the strength we're going to see from the Peregrines for the rest of the series, maybe this is where we finally see the upset.
So Seers are blue, by the way. Just thought I would mention
Oh,
that. I know.
well, I've been calling them the wrong name this entire time, and I apologise to you and to the viewers.
But it doesn't say that there's nothing to take away from the Peregrines there, though, because that second map was close. I mean, they had control up to 99% for most of it. It was only that Seers managed to come back, clawed their way back. So I'm not sure. I think Peregrines have got a good chance in this one. I don't think it's as one-sided as we thought it was going to be.
No,
Definitely not.
I mean, just picking out a couple of bits that I spotted. I think Farah play, maybe getting a little bit too close to the ground than they wanted to. I mean, getting charged once or twice. Getting slept as well, so I can't take away from. I think it's Cronus's Anna play. What do you think the Peregrines need to change up though for this next map? You know, they did change something slightly different. They went into the map slightly differently to what they used to, or at least to what we saw last time. It was a bit more divey from both teams, in fact. What do you think they need to up? What do you think they need to change?
I'll leave Bailey to field that one as the colorcaster.
Of course. I think what we saw towards the end there is that when the Seers brought out the Genji, they didn't really have a counter. They had no crowd control really, so they couldn't really do much when that blade was like popped. They didn't really have anything to like either stop the ultimate being cast or just stop him in his tracks for a few seconds. There was nothing they could do. The only way they could have done that is either just using the primal rage to hopefully knock him back, or either just use the Pharah in the high sky to hopefully take them out. But I think what we saw is that maybe they need to switch on to a McCree or a Doomfist or something, just to provide a bit more pressure onto that Genji, because it's just free roaming at the minute. Of course, the Pharah does provide a bit of pressure, but of course he can just dash out the way, or maybe just use the deflects to deflect some of those rockets being fired towards him.
So maybe switch up, maybe some focus targeting a little bit better.
Yeah.
I felt like when the Peregrines were trying to take back at least that on that second map, it's Bren, who was a McCree, went super low when he got dived and somehow managed to get away with some peel from his team. Granted, the healers did a great job keeping him up, but they seemed to just switch off him as he went round the corner. I'm not sure whether they should have just carried on with that.
A little bit of a lack of object permanence. The second that McCree is off screen, the McCree no longer exists. Yeah, you're right. There needs to be follow through, but at the same time, when you're playing a very mobile comp like this, you have to respond to the calls of whoever the principal shot caller is. And if it means taking out the support rather than the McCree, then that might be the correct decision. So it's really difficult to try and say, oh, they should have been focusing this person instead of this person, because you don't know what the minute-to-minute calls are unless you've got a line into the comms. And having a line into the comms on the broadcast is always a little bit risky, in my experience.
Okay. Tank-wise, I think it was pretty even, both across both teams. I can't speak today. Wrecking balls from both teams as well, which was a little bit interesting. On Gardens, they did start off with Orion, and for Orion, Symmetra is absolutely horrible to play against as a tank. I hate it so much because you're just standing there waiting for your shield to break before Sim beams you down. But although they did well, although Peregrines did well to finally break that, it did end up coming back. The Seers came back with a wrecking ball on second point. So I'm not sure what's gonna happen in the next map. I think there might be a sub. I'm not too sure. I'd have to double check that. But the next map is King's Row. So let's see what happens.
It wouldn't be a finals if we didn't see Lijiang followed by King's Row. The two most popular maps in the entirety of the set, regardless of your own personal predilections. No surprise that we're going to King's Row here at all.
You know, of course, we're on home turf as well. No, King's Row set in the lovely futuristic town of London.
It's certainly a lot cleaner than the London I saw last time I was there. Last time I was allowed out of the house.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we might see a chance for some Widow play here as well. You know, she's still incredibly powerful if you've got that mechanical aim. You know, if you hit those, if you can just click on those heads, she's extremely powerful. You know, there's a lot of long sight lines here, especially on the first point for the defending team and maybe for the attacking team as well, if you can find that high ground. You know, I think maybe we could see a Symmetra teleport maybe through Hotel. It's a thing that's been done before, but it depends what sort of level these teams are playing at, whether they'll stick to the conventional meta.
Yeah, I kind of want to see on the offense, like, let's just get that opening 30 seconds of Widowmaker play whilst you look for that pick. I think that's always quite fun to see. We're going to see the Peregrines here starting out on defense. And this is maybe a little bit of a throwback when you consider that what we normally see is the McCree May. We've actually got the Reaper May coming out here on defense.
Yeah, this used to be very popular in the, I can't remember what exactly the name for it was, where it used to be the Goats meta, but it was 2-2-2, and this used to be what people used to play quite a lot. So let's end up giving us a little bit of a throwback here, but of course we can see that it's Bren's on the Genji again, and, you know, maybe Senshia can provide a little bit more pressure in the Cardinal as well, especially on that May, providing more crowd control towards the Genji. Otherwise than that, Kronos on the Mora, able to maybe, you know, just fade away from Isbren's Genji a little bit better, you know, provide a little more escapism.
Well, we see Yellowhorn manage to land a fire strike there and get almost a quarter of the way to the ultimate. Barreling through Hotel now are the Seers. And Balor closing in on a nano boost already, 33% and rising. Freeze is going to come out, forcing the Seers to back out. Small room, everybody's going to get hit by that. Coach Feb came away with a bit of charge, but not a lot of health. With cooldowns back, they're going to press their way back in, and both teams just engage in a footsie battle for now, waiting for an entry frag. That's going to be Yellowhorn falling very low. The Nano online, the Shatter online, the Hammer comes out, and that is going to be Seers taking that the second they can knock this pesky May out of the equation.
Yeah, that was a very, very fast ultimate charge that coming through from Balor, and I don't even think the Peregrines ready for that to come through. They know. I don't think Gjallarhorn almost, I mean, he has his ultimate now, but he didn't quite have it at the time, so there wasn't really much he could do, you know. He got walled off by Alex there as well, so he was just completely split off from his team, and any healing that could have been provided either by Nvidia or Kronos. But now they do know that he has used that shatter, so maybe this is time that Gjallarhorn can get his own back.
Yeah, Yellowhorn's got that ready to go, and they're going to open things up there. Kronos coming in with the Coalescence, but they wall a lot of that off with the May Wall. Sensei Shark's able to get context out of the fight. Yellowhorn getting the Equalizer, and this is certainly looking an awful lot better for the Peregrines, who can start to mount a defense, maybe not quite up by spawn, ideally, but by this choke, just past where you open out into streets, is an incredibly strong place to be holding.
Yeah, of course, if you can hold on that choke there, you've got lots of the environment to hide behind, especially if the other team try to push.
See those displays come through. An aggressive sound barrier to cover its Bren. There's the Graviton Surge. Gonna lock them up as well, but there's not enough that its Bren can do to follow in. There's gonna be the Blizzard now out from Cardin as well. Is gonna freeze up Quantex, is gonna freeze up Coach Feb, and they managed to pull out the hold here, even with two ultimates thrown in from the Seers.
Yeah, it was a beautiful wall coming from Cardinal there. You know, even though they got grabbed, that wall coming from Cardinal meant that Ace-Brain couldn't even get to them through that wall and through that grab. And then as well, Ace-Brain was just being frozen by Cardinal. That just completely wasted his whole blade there.
It's unfortunate. Quantex Went for the shadow, only found Sensei Shark, who is going to be kept alive. He's going to pull the cord on the Death Blossom, find the 4K. This is a monstrous hold here from Peregrines, having been rolled off point A.
Yeah, looks like the Peregrines have been doing their homework. Very dominant, that counter charge coming in from Galhorn there provided that opening for Sensei Shark to rip out that Death Blossom.
That was very impressive, but they realise now they've not got the tools to keep this hold going by spawn, and Peregrines are going to start to give off a bit of space. It's going to be tricky for them because Alex will have the Blizzard ready to go and can just knock this defense down. Beautiful read on the block onto the Shadow. Galahorn went for the charge out. It's going to get slept and frozen. No Overwatch for you today, my friend. And that's going to be the Seers finally starting to roll this through point B.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Peregrines do that. They didn't really have any ultimates, so much they could do there to hold that there. But of course, now they've got some more abilities online. No, Scribble's got that grab online. Unfortunately, that Galhorn didn't quite get that shot to place. But Nvidia coming up through to beat here. But of course, you got to look at the other side. Isbren is some 95% to his Death Blossom, and especially if he can maybe combo that with Quantex's Shatter, he can provide a really big team kill here.
Well, they're managing a last-second contest here. Big anti-nade. There's going to be the Death Blossom opens up the Graviton Surge and the Nano Boost as well. What a set of commitments into that fight, but another very nice rounding out on that one by the Seers. Moving into point C with 4 minutes left to play with, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Scribble threw that grab in there in the intention of winning that fight, but Isbren used that to his own advantage there and knew that the rest of the Peregrines would push on that Graviton Surge thinking that they were about to win the fight, but Isbren said no. This is my fight to win here.
My friend. Not today. Well, Kronos is going to have the Coalescence, and going to be throwing that into a little bit of the anti-healing. Sound Barrier comes down, but it's just a fraction of the frame too late to save Sensei Shark. So they've got the 5v6 here. Blizzard is also going to come out from Cardinal, but it looks like it hasn't paid too many dividends. Code Prep is going to go down, but he trades out with Kronos, and a big charge out from Quantex takes Gellerhorn out of the equation. This is the Seers fight to win yet again, and it is rounding that final straight down to the end of point C.
Yeah, Peregrines used 3 ultimates in that fight. I'm not really sure they needed, so they should have just used one and maybe thought that, hey, this fight's lost. Maybe we should try and, reset here and...
Oh, Alex! From the high ground, with the Blizzard, lobs it in. Trades out 1-for-1. Nvidia being lost for his Peregrine, but with so much freeze on the side of the Seers here. This is a hiding to nothing for what is left of the Peregrines. The stall is on. Down to Scribble, down to Cardinal to try and keep this going. The Shatter deals with Scribble. Coach Feb on the ball is going to take Cardinal out of the fight, and that is going to be a 2-minute, 38-second time bank for the Seers.
Yes, a very respectable time coming through from the Seers there, but also a respectable time for the Peregrines, on that defense as well. Maybe a bit of a panic Shatter coming in from Gillerhorn there. I think maybe the Peregrines need to work on their ult management a little bit. I think they saw that they weren't winning the fight, so they kept throwing ultimates in, hoping that one of them would hopefully win them the fight. But in the end, they just ended up using a lot of ultimates that they could have maybe saved for the next fight. And maybe I think that's maybe what the Seers are doing a little bit better at the minute.
It is, but I think I want to talk a little bit about that point B defense from the Peregrines, because they burnt a solid 2 minutes off the clock just by playing right at spawn doors, and I'd love to see that little more commitment and aggression from them. That decision to say, no, we're going to win this, and we're just going to play up by your spawn door to prove it.
Yeah, I think maybe what we're seeing coming through from the Peregrines is that they always seem to play really well when they're in enclosed doors there, but when it's going through into a more open space, even though on point 2 there, it is more enclosed inside the fracture, but there is still high ground for them that they have to be careful of. But yeah, I think maybe they do need to play a bit more aggressive, because sometimes aggressive can be a bit scary, but sometimes it pays off really well.
Moving into this next round, we've got another unconventional defense. We've actually got the double shield coming out for Seers, but rather than going for the Orisa Sigma or the Orisa Rhine, it's the Rhine Sigma, which is a weird one to me.
Yeah, Sigma's seen his few sets of nerfs, especially with the health of his shield as well, providing, his shield doesn't really particularly have too much health anymore.
Oh, wait. It's a big wall. Will secure the split for the 2. Not going to last too long as the middle pillar goes down and they start to aggress in. And it seems like Peregrines are making a set of swaps here. Now they know what they're up against.
Yeah, of course. They've taken a little peek there and they've realized that the Wrecking Balls aren't just going to quite work here. So Gillerhorn's back on the Reinhardt.
Oh, another beautiful
they need
wall
to be
from
careful.
Alex. Yeah, big split, charge into charge, and the anti-nade over the top sees Peregrines secure a very advantageous pick here, taking Quantex out of the fight. Sensei Shark TPs into the background, finds the sleeping Alex. Cardinal helps him round that one, and the chase is on. Reaper against Reaper. Sensei Shark comes out on top. And this is another point A that may as well not have had a defense.
Absolutely. You know, even though Alex was splitting off their Reinhardt with their wall, it's providing some absolutely excellent walls. I think maybe the wall is triggering a fight or flight sense in the Peregrines here that they are becoming a lot more aggressive.
They're already pushing right the way up and generating some fantastic ult charge ready to go. Seers are just holding this corner, waiting for the rest of the team to get back.
Yeah, Kronos is 97% of the way to his ultimate, and now he's got it online. Either pair that with Gyllenhaal, or maybe Sensei Shark, you know. Oh, looks like Reaper's going for a flank, but nope.
The sleep onto the nano boosted Reinhardt means a lot of that value is going to be off the table until he wakes up. And that's going to be out of range. So nano boost kind of wasted here, bought some space. Coach Bev has the Graviton Gravitiflux ready to go. Oh, it's a nice one. He gets 2 in. There's no sound barrier just yet for Nvidia, who's closing in on having it. Scribble goes down. Cardinal able to get the equalizer. The DPS lineup suddenly pushing back from the Peregrines. Cardinal still in this, but the Seers have the numbers advantage and are likely to keep the hold going for now.
Yeah, looks like Coach Bev on the Sigma are using Sigma's. Thank God that didn't provide him with that 3-second knockdown, otherwise they would have been a little bit in trouble. But now we've got Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, this is looking great. This is where they can start to snowball this. They've taken down a tank, they've taken down one of the DPS, and I'm amazed that Sensei Shark is riding the cart here. I would be pushing up onto the high ground, looking for the drop down with the Death Blossom as Gjallarhorn starts to take the aggressive position to halt the recontest.
Yeah, of course, we've got to be careful with Jax. Beat is online here, but I'm hope that they know that. And is Contest going around for the shatter? He's not going to get that. No, he's not.
Oh, he has got into back. There's the shatter coming in over the top of the blizzard. Gets the double sound barrier. Is going to come off here for Jark. Sensei Shark gets 1, gets 2, but it's looking like it's numbers advantage here for the Seers. A big investment of ultimates for the Seers, but it has resulted in a hold.
Yeah, I think maybe the Sensei Shark committing that ultimate there was more of like a response rather than, you know, he needs to initiate with that rather than use it as a response to help his team out. Because in the end, he could have just got out, you know, saved that for the next round, you know, especially with Kronos on 81% to his ultimate there. That nano Death Blossom could have been absolutely deadly. Now they know of Jarshu's beat as well. There's nothing to really stop him from, well, a defensive ultimate for them.
That's right. And its bread is up on the high ground. Might go for the wraparound through that tunnel to get the drop down. Jark secures 1 early pick with a melee. Scribble on, Scribble off. Charge into charge, but the nano boost is on the table for Quantex. Has the damage advantage. Coach Bev pushing through, buys the space. Gjallarhorn getting taken out by the fire strike. Jark gets Cardinal to round things out. And the Seers don't want this fight over just yet. They're having way too much fun.
Absolutely not, but they know not to push too far in. Backing off a little bit here, but looks like Isbrain might be in a little bit of trouble on the high ground, but managed to escape there. You know, I think the Peregrines, though, they don't really have many ultimates to push with here. You know, their ultimates are their win conditions. I mean, you know, either with the Death Blossom or the Blizzards. These are what they're looking for right now, but they just need to build them up.
I think they can make this happen, but we're getting some massive rocks here from Coach Bev all the way from downtown. Honestly, a nano boost and shatter here could make this work, but it's not going to work this time around as the flux comes through, takes Nvidia out, and the follow-up is there to deal with Scribble. We see the Death Blossom used here as well, which I don't know that I like seeing used in a one fight like that, and Sensei Shark gets the upper hand, but we're now at under 2 minutes on the time bank from Peregrines. They are unlikely to get a comparable time bank for the Seers.
Yeah, of course, but I think at the minute the Peregrines are just looking to finish this map at all, seeing as that they probably won't take this map as bad, seeing as Legion Tower was so close. Of course, now they know that the Seers are lacking ultimates that they have. So it looks like they might be looking for maybe a Graviton push here.
Graviton and we've got both of the blizzards online, meaning that basically nobody can do anything. No, wait, Coach actually ate the blizzard from Cardinal, which is a big ask to do with the hitbox of that kinetic grasp. Nano boost on the table for Gallagher, throws in the shatter. It finds nobody, but Scribble's able to get Alex. There's the shatter out now from Quantex. The fire strike with the nano boost over the top will find two. Sleep will momentarily protect at least Scribble, but Quantex is able to get the fire strike in. We are now down to under a minute on the clock for Peregrines, and they used a lot in that fight, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I don't really agree with them using the Blizzard and the Graviton at the same time. You either use one or the other. But hopefully I've learned from that. And now they know the Reaper's probably looking, doesn't quite have his Death Blossom though, but not that they know that. Unless they're tracking ultimates very well. But Nvidia has now got his beat online. Of course, they didn't have that to help defend his team last time. So maybe they'll Sensei Shot might teleport onto high ground here. Well, that's at least what I'm hoping for.
Well, they're going to be using it aggressively. Scribble's going to get one kill. Quantex now down. I was expecting Sensei Shark to be using that Death Blossom over the top. Coach gets the Gravitic Flux online, gets one out of it. And the Death Blossom comes out, but it's too little, too late. As we hit the 10-second mark on the clock, Peregrines looking really rough at this point, and we're just going to see the stagger come through onto Cardinal. Gjallarhorn's going to make the swap over onto the Wrecking Ball, but we only get one last go at this contest. Dodges the rock, hits the freeze, gets the boop, gets forced off of the cart, and that's going to be Seers taking us to 2-0. It's match point, Bailey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Peregrines are very close in. There's a chance that they could create a little comeback. They just need to work on the ultimate management. You know, they're chucking at least 3 ultimates into most of their fights when they don't really need to, especially with that Graviton and Blizzard at the end. There was no need to commit that Blizzard there. Unless they wanted to use it for spacing, but they'd already lost that fight because their Blizzard was chucked so far into their back line that it wasn't really getting much effect. But I also, what else I noticed is that Balor was hitting lots of anti-nades, especially when Quantex was hitting that shatter. I meant there was no healing no healing could come through from Peregrines, trying to keep them alive through that shatter.
Yeah, but I think we're just about ready to bring Terry back into this. Terry, what did you make of that one?
Well, you mentioned a few times ult usage, and I would agree with you, but it wasn't just for Peregrines kind of wasting 1 or 2 ults. They were both kind of just chucking them in a little bit. It was unfortunate on that one of those last pushes where Peregrines invested a lot. But I think you said that the Seers aren't using them as economically as they probably could, and that does create a bit of a gap. A chink in the armor that Peregrines could push through. That's what I'd like to see anyway. I'm still rooting a little bit for Peregrines. I really do hope they get a map win at least.
The thing is that there have been some genuinely phenomenal moments from the Peregrines. Their hold at the start of B burnt so much time off the clock for Seers. It's just unfortunate they weren't able to recover from having that hold broken. But if we see them play consistently at that level, with that level of aggression and that economy on their ult, there is no reason at all why we couldn't see the reverse sweep start to happen here for Peregrines.
No, definitely. I mean, I don't want to be picking players out yet, but for Peregrines, Sensei Shark is getting kills. He's just maybe being a little bit too late, and like you said on stream, using Death Blossom at probably not the most opportune moments. He needs to be using it to not just create space, but start and getting them to use cooldowns, getting them to use defensives before the team fight started, rather than afterwards, because he's just clicking and hoping rather than getting his team to support him.
So yeah. I think it's sorry, Bailey, you go on.
Well, it's just that maybe Sensei Shark isn't using his ultimate, he isn't using it to initiate, which I think he should be doing. He's using it rather in response to his team being attacked. And, you know, as you just said, trying to create that space. So I think maybe the Peregrines, as we saw on that point A, where they were pushing them right back to their spawn, that's where Sensei Shark was using it rather to initiate rather than just as a response.
I think there's a little bit of a tendency for someone that plays a lot on ladder. If you are specifically a DPS player, you can get into this mentality of I've got my ult, I've got to get the 6k. And at this level of play, you want to be playing for 2 kills. Like 2 kills wins you the team fight. That's a good ultimate. And so, you know, either being too cocky or being too cautious with it, waiting for those opportunities, is the sort of thing that is going to give Peregrines a bit of an uphill struggle.
Yeah, I know the talk of the moment is ults. We did talk about we did mention the grab freeze combo. They are very strong ults by themselves.
Yeah.
But neither do that much damage. They're both very good for zoning or collecting people up. But they did use both at one time. And do you think it's something that the Seers need to improve on, or do you think it's something that the Peregrines should just try and learn when to reset and move back and then reinitiate afterwards? Because it felt like Peregrines were just kind of walking into it a little bit too much.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the hardest things for teams when they're so in the moment is, just figuring out when they need to reset, because you can look at a fight and go, well, I think maybe some players taking to our hands are going, well, I know if I commit this ultimate, that will win this fight. But they don't know that, but they think in their mind that if they, example, commit that Death Blossom, that they will be able to win out that fight, because it'll either create space or they'll get, like Phil said, like 6 kills. But as the higher you go, the more you realize that, as Phil said, the 2 kills, like example, just teleporting into the backline and get rid of the supports, that's what matters. And I think, yeah, you're absolutely correct with them not using them at the same time. That the Graviton and Blizzard aren't something that should be used together to get the kills. They're just used to like gather the players, like you said. So either using the Death Blossom alongside the Graviton or the Blizzard would have been more optimal.
So I want to push back a little bit in defense of using Grav and Blizzard together at the same time.
No.
It has, it's called the Snow Globe. You put those two together, it has its own.
Yeah.
And the Graviton's great. It's a wonderful ultimate if you can get it off, but your opponent can still respond whilst they're inside it. So you can get counter shattered, you can get the beat off and protect you through it. By putting them both together at just the right time, you group everybody up and you stop there being any kind of comeback, and it just focuses them even more. So it's a greedy use of ultimates, but I think it has its place. But I don't know that Peregrines were really capitalizing on that combo.
Well, I think Phil is hungry for a 6K in
Always.
maybe
Always.
after the half time. We're going to take a brief 5-minute break, but make sure you come back and see if Peregrines can make a comeback. I really do hope they can, but Seers are looking super strong at the moment. We'll see you in a few minutes.
It's a great opportunity for everyone, and it's really cool that there's an organisation out there really promoting it in the country. I think it's one of the few that actually get like low college age students into it. It sets up for things like Yule, etc. So, yeah.
I mean, it's obviously a lot different playing on stage when you're playing, in your rooms, and playing at college. It's going to be a huge difference. You're playing in front of a crowd. It's being streamed, so obviously it's going to affect you. But if you don't have that opportunity, you can never really get that experience. So who's going to say no, right? So it's been good. It's really, really good.
Well, it's good representation for the school, and you can find people in the school who you can make friends with, who have similar interests.
It's good, to have the teamwork and the skills, to do something that you may not be comfortable with. For example, Nicky's the shot caller. He's the person to say, this is what our priority is, get on this, And whereas usually a quiet person wouldn't really want to step up to that role. That's
It also brings everyone together, even if we don't know each other. I didn't know all of these guys until we joined a group.
I hope other schools just look at this now and know that not only is this playing games, but it's always about team building exercises. This is a really fun thing to do, especially I know that some of us have exams coming up and everything like that, but the fact that we can just take a day off just to play a game that we all love, and if you love the game and you just want to have fun playing it, definitely it's just an amazing experience. That's all I can say, to be honest. It is an amazing experience.
Welcome back to the British Esports Association Grand Finals for the Overwatch tournament against the Seers and the Peregrines. It's not been that close a match, but Peregrines have shown a little bit of oomph, a little bit of potential, nearly taking the second round on Li Jiang, and putting up a good defense on Kings. Before we get in and talk about next map quickly, just a reminder about the British Esports Association. If you're not sure about how we can help, how much you want to get involved, how to maybe connect with some people and get some advice about how you can get into the industry, please make sure to check the website with links in the chat around here somewhere, and make sure to thank Newell, who have been producing this video for us and the streams for us, who have been fantastic in being able to help us do this for us. Next map, Junker. What do you think we're going to be seeing?
Sorry, just momentarily distracted by your camera there, Terry.
Sorry. Sorry.
Anyway, so I mean, this is a map with a couple of classic approaches outside of the meta, which is double sniper or pirate ship, either of which are both very, very strong here.
Yeah. Sorry, go.
No, I was just, absolutely. The Bastion, pirate ships. Some people love. It's great to play, but playing against it is an absolute nightmare. But I think maybe we could see a Roadhog coming in because Roadhog is really good for just taking that Bastion off the pirate ship and just taking him away from the team.
Yeah, it's one of the few options you've got to dislodge a Bastion. I think we're more likely to maybe see the May in that role with the wall to lift it up above the immortality field or whatever other nonsense they've got trying to keep Bastion alive forever.
Yeah, sorry, got invaded by my son, who's.
I'm sorry for highlighting it.
Hey, I'm a little bit jealous of him because he's other than doing the odd bit of schoolwork, he's basically just playing games all day, every day. So he's got no excuse to get dressed, which is why he isn't. But living the dream. You mentioned double shield, possibly. I think with the Bastion. I'd love to see Hog as well. Maybe dive as well. it's a fantastic Widow map, which we haven't seen yet, a Widow or Hanzo yet. Do you think we're going to be seeing any of that?
I think if the players are happy with their mechanical skill and they're very confident with it, I don't see why not. But it's just all down to the player of like how confident they are hitting those headshots. Because if you're not getting the value out of Widow hitting those shots, then there's just no real reason for you to be on it. Just swap to a hero that you're going to get a bit more value out of.
Yeah, it's a thing that we talk about a lot in casting. Is particularly of this sort of grassroots event, is sometimes there is a lot of power in a comfort pick. So, you can look at the meta and go, my Mei's okay, my Genji, my Reaper, whatever is fine, but Symmetra is where I shine. Then you can get a lot more value out of that Symmetra and building a team comp around it. And trying to force what you think is the best option when you don't have the best player for the best option can be your undoing.
But it does look like that Peregrines are kind of doing that a little bit. The last time they played, it was more Ryan Zarya and mirror matching, whereas they're being a little bit more ambitious, a little bit more exciting this time. I'd really want to see Peregrines get a map. I mean, it's been close. Junker is one of those where you can get stuck at A, or you can chunk off a lot of time at C if you get there. A lot of good camp spots, and a lot of good places to stall. I guess we'll see what happens in Junker. Seers just need to win this, and they've won the grand finals. So all the best to Peregrines, just to give us a bit of a good fight.
Yeah, this is absolutely match point, and the reverse sweep has to start somewhere. Where better for it to start than at match point? Keep everybody on the edge of their seat for the remainder of the day.
Well, we're just about to go into the possibly, I'm not going to say final, possibly final match of a competition. Chat, thank you for your comments. Tiny Terry, maybe, I've been trying to get him into Overwatch, maybe one day in the future. But we're going to go into the third map, which is Junkertown against Peregrines and Seers.
That's right. So I don't know about you, Bailey, but I feel like this is probably the worst map in the set for getting hard. Okay, I had more to that sentence, but let's leave that there for now. It's one of the worst maps in the set for getting rolled the entire way through. If you want to run that Bastion pirate ship, once it's set up, it can be so hard to dislodge here. It can just run right the way through, even all the way through in overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe the best thing they can do is they get you, like as Terry said, you can either run dive, but you have to coordinate that dive so well, because otherwise that Bastion is just going to eat through you, and you have to make sure that if you are going to try and go towards that Bastion, you have to make sure that if they are running double shields, you need to break down both of those shields, either take down the Orisa or the Reinhardt first if they are doing that composition. Of course, Orisa's shield, the less health of the two, so probably the easiest one to break down, but of course you've got to be careful that they might use the Batiste. Just to keep that Bastion alive a bit longer, and then that's all your effort just maybe gone to waste for a little bit longer, because now you've got to focus on Immortality Field, and you've got to think about the Bastion in case it's been healed up. There's just a lot to think about when you're trying to take down a Bastion.
That's right, but the defense have their comp set up here. We've got double sniper, double shield, so they're going for a lot of range control here.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Sensei Shark and Cardinal look confident on these snipers, they could do a lot of damage to the Seers here, especially Itzbren and Alex, but especially Itzbren. But of course, you've got to be careful. If Itzbren is confident with his deflex, he could potentially just turn this around with a quick 180 deflect.
This is such a weird mixed comp from Seers, though. Torp Genji, Roadhog Rhine. Like, where is the synergy here?
Yeah, I think maybe they're just they know it's match point, so they don't really have anything to lose here. They've got another map if they need it. Looks like they're just throwing in, but it looks like it is providing a lot of pressure. Alex with that turret on that payload as well, but never mind, since she takes that down instantly.
Well, we've had the equalizer kill there. It's Bren and Cardinal now both out of the fight, but the payload rolling through, and this is probably the least favourable place for it to stall out under this archway, but we don't have a lot of high ground control here for the Peregrines, so we might just see Seers push the two as we do lose Kronos in the fight. Quantex ever gets Dribble as well. This is looking like we might break here, and Sensei Shark fast asleep, taking a nap on top of the water tower, able to get out just before the dive completes, but so far this payload not slowing down much.
No, absolutely not. I think, maybe they were a little bit unexpected from that Genji and Torpik, and I think we were as well. But Cardinal takes out Bren.
Yeah, that's going to be the Genji punished. Quantex with the dive gets interrupted by the rock. Beautiful presence there from Scribble. Cardinal gets Alex. And the high ground presence here and the threat provided by these snipers starting to work out as Cardinal gets payload down. But Quantex has the nano boost. And Sensei Shark just walks in. Shatter comes in over the top. Cardinal's going to trade that out. Cardinal with a second here. But Bren is alive on the point to walk that through the final few meters, and we are going to see it move into point B.
Yeah, I think maybe we should see a little bit of a swap from the Peregrines here. Bren is constantly just not getting punished for what he's doing. It's either he's just taken down by one of the snipers, but I think they need to provide a little bit of stun here. Of course, they've got Scribble with his accretion, but there's not really much else they can do against him. So I think maybe, it looks like he's going in the back lines here. They need to watch the back.
Very nearly. Well, did get it in the end. The res came through. But this high aggression coming out from Bren is really starting to pressure out the supports of Peregrines. By sticking with this double sniper composition, they're putting the rest of their team into a 4v6.
Yeah, he didn't even need to commit his play there. He was so confident that they weren't, because he knew that as soon as the healer was taken out, there wasn't really much he could do. And especially with his deflect, he can just stop. And of course, there isn't a Reinhardt to run about, swinging his hammer about. But so I think... Yeah, and looks like Sensei Shark has switched onto McCree here, which might provide a little bit more pressure on top of Bren. And hopefully he can put that flashbang to use.
Well, we're going to have the Supercharger on the field from Yellowhorn, but Yellowhorn gets focused down, as does the Supercharger. Nice Gravitic Flux will get one, but the turret's going to get rid of Scribble. Nice big nade over the top, deals with Sensei Shark, and it's just going to be Yellowhorn and Cardinal trying to keep this alive. Yellowhorn is able to get one, but there's just no healing available for him, no HP left in the tank, and we roll into point C with 5 minutes on the clock for Seers.
An absolute massive time bank, but now Kronos has got that Transcendence online. Might provide a little bit more time.
Look how Bren is playing. Bren is playing so cockily here. Just not even worried about Scribble, just emoting on the high ground.
Yeah, I think he knows that maybe the Peregrines aren't going to punish him for it either. The only thing he's got against him is, well, now Cardinal's onto that mid, but of course, if Bren keeps his distance, there's not really much he has to worry about from Sensei or Cardinal.
And these swaps are good, but it might be too little too late because, we're rounding the halfway mark into point C. We need some sort of defense, and we need it now.
Yeah, and looks like they were taking the high ground there, and of course, with all the rest of the Peregrines being on the low ground, and Sensei Shark's down now, and that means that flashbang is no longer on the field, so this could just leave Bren.
Well, sound barrier from Jark, and they are pushing right the way in. Quantex able to get Cardinal. Kronos still in the backline, still with the Transcendence ready to go, but just hasn't had the opportunity to use it.
Yeah, maybe he should, instead of, I think he's waiting for a reaction rather than just trying to engage a bit. And maybe if they engage with the Transcendence, but now he's taken down, so that's another 10 seconds. They're going to have to wait. Oh, no, Blade comes out.
Yeah, Blade out and not able to connect the sleep. Charge doesn't connect either. Sensei Shark does have it in the back, gets one with the High Noon, but with the Molten Core on the point, there's nowhere left for him to run. Transcendence finally out from Kronos in 3 minutes 29 seconds in the bank for Seers. Peregrines have a lot of work to catch up with on Junkertown.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Bren was just walking around in their backlines and no one even noticed it was there. And I don't even think I saw maybe the Peregrines check their backline once, he just went around the back and he was just walking. There wasn't really much looking behind coming through from the Peregrines. But of course, they weren't taking care of that turret either. That turret was there putting in that damage. And it was just, we saw then it took out 2 of them. And essentially that turret was just acting like a 7th player with a bit of aimbot for them.
Well, quite a lot of aimbot. It's, I don't know, we looked at this composition and said there's no way this should work. The synergies just aren't there. You're not comboing abilities on the regular. But just the sheer mechanical skill available for the Seers might be what carried them through this, let's call it a quick play competition.
Yeah, I think maybe this is a bit of a clockwork vendetta thing we're seeing here. It's Bren on the Genji and Alex. Obviously seems very confident on the Torbjorn. Wow. It looks like they won't be switching it up for the defense much, but it looks like Sensei Shark switching onto Ashe. We've seen a bit of the Ashe. Been playing a bit more recently. Maybe that Dynamite can get a bit more purpose. On Bren, especially like if it detonates on top of Bren, that might force him to pull back a little bit. But of course, Balor can provide that healing from a distance. So I'm not too sure.
I think also with the Mercy pocket here. Oh, beautiful find there.
did actually get a tracking on you. There was somebody up there. Track down It's Bread, who is on 1 HP and a dream. Finds the health pack, so able to get back in. Huge amount of space, and I love this pick from Sensei Shark. Already getting kills on the board. This is looking very good for them. Need to be a little bit careful. There is a Reinhardt in the back. Not doing much to stop out the payload. Nice big halt stops that connecting. It's Bren goes down. Quantex goes down, and we're going to see Peregrines starting to spread their wings here a little bit.
Yeah, Galhorn and Scribble used their abilities very well together, using that Hall and that Accretion together. That worked really well for them. I think Galhorn's using that the Hall very well. That the Reinhardt was trying to escape, and he just dragged him back.
Nope.
And now we can see that Dynamite being used to provide a bit more pressure on the high ground.
And Scribble's just going to block up this exit with Cardinal as well. Even if he can't get the frag, bruising him a little bit on the way into the fight is pretty good value. Forcing their attention. Needs to be careful. There is the hook online. Big hook onto Scribble. Has to use the kinetic grasp, but they're confident enough in their abilities to not throw damage into it. A lot of damage comes out onto Alex, but he's able to duck and dive out of the way. Sensei Shark and Galahorn able to punch back though. Nvidia has to retreat from trying to keep that going and falls into the line of fire of the Fire Strike. Sensei Shark's going to be coming out of this with Bob ready to go, but we'll probably want to wait for the rest of the team to come back. Not sure where that charge is going from Quantex.
Yeah, I think he's just heading back to reset with his team. But I know that was a... I think maybe Scribble wasn't too confident with his... Yeah, so I wasn't too confident. Oh no.
Yeah, there's a big flux. Catches 3, takes Alex out of the fight. The follow-up there from Scribble, very good. Takes Baylor out of the fight, and now can turn his attention to the problematic main tank on the point. Coach Feb gets Kronos, but it's too little, too late. The kills are there in space for Peregrines, and they're likely to run this through to point B.
Yeah, I don't think really anyone knew that Coach Feb was there in the backlines, but I think what we're seeing from Peregrines here is that they're using their abilities to initiate more than as a reaction. Scribble used that Gravitic Flux to initiate the fight rather than as a reaction to his team getting pressured. And I think that's really working a lot better for them. And now they've got, now they could use maybe, now they've got Bob online, act as a 7th player. They've also got Bongo online, which providing that they keep it alive provides a lot of extra damage for the whole team.
Here's the big thing, that they don't have a defensive ultimate, and we've got the Nano Blade online ready to go, as well as the Shatter. The Shatter comes out, it's just going to get Yellowhorn, but Quantex gets taken down before that can really connect, and suddenly this is swinging back in the way of Peregrines. Quantex might want that ultimate back.
Yeah, I think we saw Quantex get a little bit in his own head there. He did a quick 360 before he shattered.
360 shatter.
Yeah, and I think those split seconds cost him a little bit. But I think he's learned now that maybe he should start taking this game a little bit more seriously. They're pushing with some speed now, and they might be able to get maybe a few minutes on the clock.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good here. They managed to hold on to Bob, which I think is great for just providing an additional angle that the Seers are going to have to worry about. But this is what we're worried about. The Nano Boost onto Dragonblade comes through. Finds the connect, can't get the kill, gets the first one. Cardinal down, but they will trade out for Quantex. Cardinal with the Dragon Strike in the meantime is going to get Alex, and this is looking pretty good for a roll on into point C. See a little bit of pushback here as Itzbren gets Nvidia, but Itzbren gets too close to the waiting fist of the Dutch scientist and gets knocked out of it. Nice big halt to stop the retreat there from Coach Feb, who is looking to be in a little bit of trouble themselves. However, Yellowhorn caught between 2 tanks. Might struggle to make this out.
Yeah, the Seers are looking a little bit low on their ultimates here, but the Peregrines are building pretty quick. But of course, they're going to have a bit of a respawn advantage.
Yeah, Sensei Shark closing in on having another Bob ready to go. The res is going to come through onto Kronos, but as we lose Nvidia and Sensei Shark as well, that might be a res that they live to regret.
Yeah, of course, they've got to wait for Bob.
Oh, couldn't quite get that hold. It was so nearly there, and the rock comes through. Scribble looking to be focused down here again as well. Has the shield up, just about able to get away. Kinetic grasp there to buy a little more over shield, and they take Quantex out at the end of this fight. This is a good opportunity here for Peregrines to bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got that Nano online, and Bob's almost back here. He'll be able to provide a little bit of around the corners where the players might not be able to get to.
Coach Feb has the Gravitic Flux themselves ready to go. Probably does. Well, gonna use that early while Sensei Shark is down, and there's no chance of Bob pressuring him out. Nice big Flux finds Nvidia. Follow up with the orb to take Cardinal and Kronos out of the fight. We're now down to 1 minute 20 seconds, even if Peregrines complete here and complete C without a hitch, they're still going to be coming in with a lower time bank.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think at this point they're just playing to win. They really want this win so bad. But of course, now that there's almost going to be Nanoblade coming in through from the CC, and we've seen how deadly it can be. But Bren hasn't been quite hitting all these blades as we've been seeing. But Nvidia pops that ult, and that's providing maybe a little bit too early. Could use that, but he's using it to engage with that damage.
Maybe looks to be a lot on the healing there, but yeah, I would have loved to have seen this enable a push. Sensei Shark takes the high ground. Has an angle now on its Bren.
Oh, that shield just blocked that.
That's unfortunate. There's the shatter. Sensei Shark holding on to Bob. Maybe should have used that a little more proactively because we're at 30 seconds now and there's nobody from Peregrines here.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with holding on to your ultimate, but holding it on for too long, that's where it becomes a problem. And I think Sensei Shark maybe holding it on for a bit too long, maybe waiting for the right moment, but I think they're running a little low on the right moments here. And of course, the only ultimate they used there was Shatter, so now they've got another 4 ultimates online, one of them being a defensive. And of course, Alex could just use that Blizzard to block off the payload.
They're going to have to send Bob in just to keep the cart contested. But we've seen the quick double come through. A bit of a pushback there from the ults on the field from Peregrines. But there was just too much work done by its friend. And now with the Blizzard over the top, silencing Bob and Yalahan taken out, it's down to Scribble to try and keep this going. And he's pressured from multiple angles. He can stall this out a little bit longer while shield dancing. Did buy time for Kronos to get back in on the Lucia, but that's going to be Scribble taken down. And we're back into desperation picks just to keep the contest going for Peregrines. The Gravitic Flux over the cart is going to seal the deal. Seers are going to take a healthy 3-0 win in the grand finals over Peregrines.
Yeah, amazing matches coming in. Peregrines provided some absolutely amazing, almost clutch moments coming in, as we saw on that Lijiang Tower as well. Especially, they almost managed to take a few maps off them. Of course, Peregrines shouldn't be too gutsy. They've got a lot to work with here. Especially, they should look back at this VOD and look at what can they improve on for the next time. And hopefully, we'll be seeing this rematch pretty soon.
Hopefully, this is going to be 4th time. If we see Peregrines up against Seers next time, it would be nice for them to finally bring that win back. But there are definitely, as you were saying, some real high points for Peregrines here, and just a few more of those would have seen that go to a few more maps. But I think we're just about ready to bring Terry back in to give us his thoughts on the match.
Well, was it as one-sided as we thought it was going to be? Maybe
a little bit. 75-25.
Yeah, I don't know. If you want to look at this, on paper, it's a 3-0. I think it was maybe a little closer to like a 10-6 scoreline. if you're gonna judge it on overall performance, it was closer than the scoreline suggests it was.
No, definitely. I mean, great plays from both teams. I do think that if Peregrines just coordinated a little bit more, and that might be something that they, like you said, when they look at the VOD, when we look at the game, pinpointing where they can improve on next time, it will be just coordination a little bit, and being dedicated in your choices. We mentioned it on King's Row where the fight is probably going to be lost, or they're running dry on ults. So just do a dry push, just be super aggressive. If you get a pick, then you might even win the fight. But if you just sit there getting battered, then you're almost definitely gonna lose a fight, unless you get a random pick. But a great game. I think it was close. In some of the fights it was close. Play of the match. What would you say? Any that really shone out for you?
For both teams?
Let's do one for both teams. Why not?
For Seers, I think it has to be Itzbren. On that Genji, he was just absolutely unstoppable. The Peregrines, it was just absolutely punishing them from every angle that he could find, because he knew he was so confident with his plays that I think maybe that's what the Peregrines need to say. Maybe they need to be a bit more confident in their own abilities, because I think they have the ability, but I think maybe it's a bit hesitation, and maybe Itzbren just he doesn't have that much hesitation. He blades and he's just committed to that. As for the Peregrines, there's a bit of I think they all played a part in doing particularly well. Maybe Cardinal, he did really well on that Tracer in one of the first maps. But also Sensei Shark on that Farah. It's a tough call between those two for me.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you for the Seers. I also think Sensei Shark, particularly on the Ash in that final round, I thought was doing really, really good work, a lot to drive the team's performance forward. So I think that'd be my vote for that.
No, I think I would probably, and again, as a tank and support player, don't want to give all the MVPs to the DPS, but I would agree. You know, It's Bren was doing really well on the Kree, and then in the last map on the Genji, he just wasn't being contested. Again, like a little bit like on the first map on what was the first map?
Li Jiang.
Li Jiang, thank you very much. A little bit like on Li Jiang. It just wasn't being countered, so he was given the freedom. But that's not to take away that he did play incredibly well. And then again, for Peregrines, I do think Sensei Shark as well, because although he's got a bit of work to do with knowing when to use his ult when he was playing Reaper, on the Farah and on the Ash in that last map, they definitely pushed the Seers back a little bit there. I don't think they were expecting quite that aggression in that last push. You know, getting to A was pretty smooth sailing there for Peregrines, and Seers trying to do some 360 hammers, maybe pushing it a little bit too much. But you know, style points, you got to give it to him.
Absolutely.
But yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you to both of you very much for hosting today. Especially well, both of you actually. I'm not gonna thank one of you over the other. It's been fantastic having you both on today. Really appreciate it. Any final comments to the viewers on Twitch before you head off?
I think don't underestimate Peregrine's ability to push back through this and come through next year. I think with a little more coaching and a little more confidence, they can definitely take Seers next time.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think maybe if there's one point from the last map that the Peregrines might want, it's they weren't looking behind them as much as I thought they were going to do. You know, we just saw Quantex it was behind them a lot, especially on that last shatter. And especially Ace Brennan on that Genji, he was just in the back lines and he wasn't getting punished for it. So I think that's one point they should take from that map.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much. Thanks for having us. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully see you again in a future game. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Well, Seers are grand champions of Overwatch British Esports Association Grand Finals for 2020. It wasn't quite as one-sided as we thought, but they do win 3-0. We're going to bring on an interview with the Farnborough, a teacher, I believe, who's going to talk to us a little bit about his perspective as a teacher. So you can share this with your teachers if you are a student or if you're a teacher watching. Maybe get some advice and some experience from how I don't know if it's he or she, has run the tournament through the school, through the college. It is the sixth form from Farnborough. So hopefully they can give some insights into, well, what it's like from their perspective. Oh yeah, and the highlights video, which we're going to quickly run through before we bring. Oh, sorry. Before we bring him on, we're going to go through the highlights video as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that shortly. We're going to see some poggers plays and bring that onto our YouTube channel and Twitch later. But I do believe we have our interview with Steve. Is Steve there? Oh, we'll try and get hold of him.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Is that Steve from Farnborough?
Is
that
indeed,
right?
yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on with us today. It was a really close match, and I'm not going to try and rub salt in the wounds. Definitely not. It was a great match. How do you think? Well, let's start off with how the whole process was. How did you find out about Esports Association? Was it a student? Was it maybe yourself? Can you talk us through a little bit about that?
It's an interesting question, actually, because my job at the sixth form college is a media and film technician. And
Nice.
for the last 2 years, the esports team have been competing in the edit suite in which I work. So I've been subtly watching them grow through Samir, who student come staff who ran the team before. Sadly, Samir left in January, and he approached me to take on the role. So I've only actually been the member of staff since January. So the last 3 months have been a learning curve to kind of to grips with what is expected of the whole operation. But it's been very, very rewarding seeing all the students all across the esports teams that I look after grow and improve. So it's been really, really good.
You mentioned you're the media teacher at sixth form. Do you think
media and film technician?
Media and film, sorry. Do you think that that's a requirement for some teachers, or convincing some staff, if you're a student, in helping setting this up in the school?
Absolutely not. I think it certainly helps. I can't lie in that term, especially in regards to like technical help. But most of even me playing games myself, this is something that you kind of have to learn in terms of organization and making sure people are in the right place at the right time. And if in terms of getting a staff member on board, the role that we require is to ensure that the students are there, they're registered, they're on time, and they have everything they need to compete in that instance. So nothing in theory changes to our day-to-day responsibilities besides, we're representing a sports team. So no, I think any teacher across any discipline would have no problem taking on an esports staff role.
Okay. So talking about the students briefly, obviously they are avid gamers, as most of us are. How do you think it's, or has it at all, affected maybe their attitude in school? I don't want to try and ring out a right or wrong answer, but it would just be interesting to see if it has affected how they behave in school in any way.
It's an interesting question because to see us on a Wednesday afternoon, and the first couple of minutes of them setting up as they're talking about their lessons, etc., and you can tell that these students have definitely developed a friendship and a bond, which is really important, especially at the college level, where a lot of the students are coming from different schools across the area. So a way in which to kind of bond, and especially in the gaming world, it's all we want to really talk about. We want to talk about how Overwatch and how we're playing. And a good example is with Rocket League, with the new season. Every time that comes out, for example, it's all me and my colleagues want to talk about. That seems to be my game that I like to play. So it's a great opportunity to bring our hobbies, especially in the gaming world, to an education facility. And I feel as if that makes the students who are part of my esports team, it really brings out their confidence, and it's really good to see.
Okay, you mentioned the social aspect of it, and I think that there's still this kind of this false idea that, although it was possibly a slightly true when some of us were younger, that it's that gaming is very antisocial, that you just sit in front of a screen, behind a locked door, and you won't speak to anybody, and it's super antisocial. What would you say to people who might have those thoughts?
That's quite a dated belief. I believe a lot of the time it's a team-based sport now. I mean, look at Overwatch, it's a perfect example. I mean, teams aren't going to excel without good communication. So I feel as if that is for people who are so used to playing through a single-player Mario experience on both Sega and Nintendo consoles. So gaming world is growing. A lot of it is team-based. I don't think it should be treated any differently to grass or turf-based sports going forward. Personally, that's the way I look at it, and that's the way I treat my team, my players.
Excellent, thanks. And then lastly, for students and teachers and parents who might want to find out about more, do you think they should find out a bit more? And any last comments or reflecting moments that you'd like to share?
Yeah, of course. I can't recommend it enough. As I said in my last comment, I think we're at a time now where I think it should be looked at exactly the same as quote unquote conventional sports and be taken seriously, especially at now the college and school level. And from my short experience, overseeing the team, it's been really, really good to watch these students kind of evolve as they would with any kind of social sport. I mean, congratulations to the Seers. It's been really good to watch you guys compete, and special shout out to all of my players. You guys have been brilliant. Shout out to Sensei Shark and Nvidia. You guys have been the guys who have been very much the key factor in keeping the F6 team running during the staff transition. So thank you for that, and I can only hope that I can see you guys next year with the next lot of students.
So before you go, you did mention that you'd like to see them again. Will you be competing in the next season?
I'd like to be. Obviously, with everything that's going on at the moment, everything's a bit up in the air. But I do believe that I'll be the member of staff, hoping to keep everything floating next year. So absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming and joining us on today's stream. Please pass on our thanks to the team. They did incredibly well. There were some fantastic fights, which as a teacher, you're not really meant to, is a bit rare that you would say you fought well. But thank you so much for coming and for allowing your students to take part as well. Okay, I think we're also going to have a quick talk with Isaac from the Seers, who is the Seers student lead. So Isaac, I don't know if you're there yet. I think he's just appearing. Are you there, Isaac?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, hello.
Hello, Isaac. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Doing great.
Thank you so much for coming for a brief interview today. Firstly, congratulations.
Thanks.
How are you feeling? How do you think your team are feeling? Have you spoken to them yet? I know it's a few questions all in one.
I've been speaking with them throughout the game, and we've had a few laughs through the game. But they've done great, and I don't think they've ever stopped being great. Since I took over the team in October, they just honestly they keep impressing us, and I'm massively proud of them.
Excellent. Can you explain your role in the school, just so people who are around the country want to find out a bit more? Just so what you do within the school, college?
I'm a student. I'm on the student managers. I just I go to lessons, and then on a Wednesday I come in and set them all up, and then log the scores in, then go home, and life goes on as usual, really.
So you're managing the team, but as a student?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And do you think that's have you done it before? Do you think it's maybe given a different view on the types of jobs you could do? And this is, again, I don't want to try and be squeezing out an answer. I don't want to be leading. But people who look at esports might go, I could be a presenter or an esports player, but you're doing something a little bit different. You're managing and, directing them a little bit.
Yeah. Honestly, this is something completely new to me. I had no idea this was the type of job you could do, and it's you learn a lot from it. Learn a lot of skills. A lot of because before this I was a bit timid and that, and ever since that I've confidence is soared. I've got so many now I know I can if I want to do anything in esports I can do a manager role. I can do all that. And it's it's not a role where you particularly have to be very out there. You don't have to go out in a crowd. You just have to talk to one or two people and then shut out a game. And it's honestly it's a really fun job if you get around to it. Well, not fun, but you do get a lot of friends from the end of it. It can be quite stressful at times.
That's cool what you mentioned. I have to say, you speaking on an interview on a voice call, you're definitely not sounding too timid or shy. You're doing as good a job as I would probably do, so you're doing well there.
Thanks.
What would you say to other teachers or students? And I know you're a student at the moment, but from a student perspective, have you had a teacher who's helped kind of process it all for you?
At the start, we had Ben. Shout out to him. He helped me with a lot of the starting it all up. It was me and another person running the Rocket League and the Overwatch team, and we basically, if I needed any help, he would be there. He'd be able to help. 1 second. He'd help with a lot of the reschedules at the start of the time. But then eventually I became really, really good at it, and I ended up just, being able to do it every week without his help. But he did help us get off the ground very quickly, and he was always there when I needed the keys to get the equipment covered and all that. But yeah, if there's anyone I need to thank, it's him.
So was it your idea? Did you bring the idea of joining the tournament, or your group of students? Did you bring that idea to him in the first place?
No, it was already a thing. We already had a team, and one of the lecturers came in trying to find managers for the team, and I decided to put my name down, and here I am.
Oh, nice. How do you think the rest of the team have done? How do you think they feel? Can you give us any inside comments or knowledge? Maybe a reason for trying to do a 360 hammer? Not that we are complaining.
Yeah, my team love to they love to show off. There went one game where they just didn't speak a word in college one time. They didn't speak a word, which is still one. Honestly, they've got the skills to show for it, and I'm extremely proud of what they do. Every game they smash out the park.
And then we'll do one more question. What would you say to other schools and colleges who are considering joining, and to other students who are weighing up whether they want to get into competitive gaming? Do you think you
Do
can
it.
share your
If you're
Yeah.
good at a game and you're good at it, don't do it for free. Don't just let the opportunity run away from you. Do it. It's not particularly something that you'll save lives, but it's definitely something you'll enjoy in the end.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your time, for managing the team.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you very much for bringing the team along, and congratulations to you, to your team, for being the Overwatch Grand Champions of 2020.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much to our interviewees, Steve and Isaac, who has been fantastic. Thank you very much for answering our questions. Big thank you for our teachers and students who have helped organise it all. Obviously, thank you to Neil, who has been producing this for us. A big thank you to them, who has done a fantastic job. I think you agree, in giving us a point of view from the players. And obviously, for me, a big thank you to the Esports Association for having me. Thank you to the casters for joining us. And I think we're going to try and look at the highlights video in just a second. But before that, remember to tune in for the League of Legends finals, which is tomorrow at 3 o'clock. It's going to be a cracker of a game. And then we have Rocket League, which is on Sunday at 3 p.m. So you can see and view similar sort of thing today, but in those games, if they're your bag instead. And then lastly, hopefully, we might be able to see a highlight video. And I don't know if the casters are around to jump in and give a couple of comments. I think they are still hovering around. Are you guys still there?
We're still here. We're still here.
Nice.
We have nowhere better
Nice.
to be.
Nice. I mean, why would you want to be somewhere else, right? This is the Overwatch League Grand Finals 2020. Where else would you want to be? Are we okay to have a look at the highlight video? Excellent.
Get in there. Justice reigns from above. Double fire.
Triple kill. Quadruple kill. Double.
So that's for highlights of Grand Finals 2020 against Peregrines and Seers. Final thoughts. Obviously, it was a little bit dominant by Seers. I know we keep saying it, but it's not to say that Peregrines didn't do a great job. We should be seeing them in the next tournament. Any ideas on what they should be working on in the meantime to the other casters?
So it's a little bit tricky to say because it's whilst it looks one-sided, it wasn't what we would sometimes call in Overwatch a stomp, which is where a team just goes, I'm not even going to let you play. We just want to get out as quickly as we can. There were moments there where Seers were really having to work for what they got, particularly on King's Row. I'm thinking the King's Row point B defense was particularly good from Peregrines. And so we've said it a couple of times. The thing that I kind of want to see from Peregrines is a bit more decisiveness and a bit more aggression. Benny and I were talking in the interval about the fact that Peregrines were holding at spawn doors for B on King's Row, and then when they were out of ults, they just backed away and they backed away and they backed away. And they could have made Seers work that a little bit harder for that space, and they didn't. And I think that's sort of a confidence and decisiveness and aggression issue that they need to fix for the next time.
Yeah, I think it's just more of a confidence thing coming through from the Peregrines. I think they have the skill there, but there was sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of miscommunication, and maybe they weren't listening to the shot clock. Maybe they were just chucking out a few ultimates that they didn't need to. And as I said before, we just went through the interviews that they weren't checking behind them as often as I hoped they would have done. There was a few times where the Reinhardt managed to get all the way around, and he shouldn't be able to get all the way around in your backline like that, especially on Junkertown. There isn't much space for him to go, so they just need to have a little bit more maybe awareness about where the enemy team is. And as Phil said, make them use their ultimates. Even if you don't use any of yours, you can still get ultimates out of it. But if they use theirs, that's a big advantage for you in the next fight.
Yeah, I mean, Reinhardt isn't the quietest or most agile of players, but I think it was it Quantex, I believe, he was on the other tank. He was playing Orion. You mentioned aggression. I do agree. I think that the Seers, that Peregrines did show it. They did show aggression in some of their fights, but the Seers kind of dealt with it a little bit better than maybe the Peregrines did. The Seers would back off a little bit or commit. They wouldn't kind of go half and half, which the Peregrines did do once or twice. And although the Peregrines were super good on King's Row, there were one or two times when they should have just called to reset rather than trying to put a couple of people out. I think that definitely chinked away at their time on attack a little bit. But thank you again for coming and speaking to us. Hopefully we'll get to speak to you again soon. So thank you very much, Bren and Phil, for joining us. And again, make sure to join us for the League of Legends Grand Finals, which is tomorrow at 3 p.m. So we'll still be here. A big thank you again to Newell for helping produce. And thank you to you for watching, for taking part in the Overwatch League Finals, for meeting Tiny Terry, for your comments about beard growth, and for enjoying the love of games, which we all do. Thank you very much, guys.
Liam has the Riptide. The Riptide coming in! Finds Sensei Shark and Bright, sending him right out of the fight. Taking home the trophy. British Esports Schools champions in a 2-0 win.